Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Knife Delights. Welcome to another Saturday chat. This is a great platform to get to know others here in the community. Um, we've had a long list of great channels that I've been able to sit down and just have a talk with. And this is no exception this Saturday morning because, folks, I have the man and the legend. You've seen him on RJ's Live. You've seen him on Big J's Live. And now we're going to have a chat here on Knife Delights. Please give a big Knife Delights welcome to Tim of Tim's School of Fish.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate you inviting me on. As you say, I talked to you and met you the first time on RJ's Live 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was able
Right.
to meet you and RJ and John from Thrifty Kniffy and Slip Joint Sawyer and Patty's Potato Peelers. I had a great time doing that. And then last week I was on Big J and Boston's live stream, and I'm here now. And I appreciate all the support that I've gotten from all you guys in the community, and it means a lot to me. And I'm happy to be here.
Well, great. It's great to have you on the show. Thanks for taking some time out of your day to sit down with us here today. Yeah, RJ's Live, wonderful live. That's at 12:30 Central every Sunday, 10:30 Pacific, and then you've got Big J's Live shortly thereafter at 4:30 Central.
Yeah.
Big J and Boston Blade Reviews, both wonderful lives. And I encourage you, while I'm at it, our friends Thrifty and Slippy, they have their live chat. I believe it's 10:30 Central every Sunday. So if you like live chats and like to talk about knives, boy, your Sunday's full just
Yeah.
right there. Yep.
Full day
So
of knife chat for sure.
a full day.
Yeah.
Well, I got to tell you, you first kind of came across my radar. You left a comment on one of my videos, and I saw Tim's School of Fish, and I thought, now that's interesting. I got to find out some more about that. Do you want to address that just a little bit about?
Yeah.
You're a knife channel, but we got School of Fish there.
Yeah, I get that question a lot. My channel name used to make sense. It doesn't make so much sense anymore, but I've asked a lot of people, should I change it? Should I keep it? And most people said just keep it. So the story is, I was a high school teacher, a high school science teacher, and a football coach and a track coach for 20 years. And I had a couple aquariums in my classroom. And then I started getting more and more aquariums where my students' parents would not let them keep the aquariums anymore. So they were like, give them to coach.
Oh,
And
nice.
before I knew it, I had 25 aquariums in my classroom. So
Wow.
that's part of the story. And I also like to fish a lot.
Uh-huh.
And my students knew that, my ball players knew that. And they just said, Coach, you should start a fishing channel on YouTube, and you should also show your aquariums. So the aquariums were in the classroom. So some of the videos were filmed in the classroom. Some of the videos were of me fishing. So the name Tim School of Fish made perfect sense.
Right.
Then, and that was like 4 years ago. And then I was off of YouTube for 3 years or something. I had back surgery. I retired from teaching. A lot of things happened. And I decided I want to get back on YouTube. I just can't fish as much as I used to. And I don't have any aquariums anymore. And I was like, what can I do on YouTube? And so I thought, I collect knives. I have a lot of knives and I watch a lot of knife channels. I'll give it a go and just make a knife channel. And I've been doing knives on my channel for 3.5, 4 months now. And the response that I've gotten has been incredible. So,
Yeah, I hope people don't get tired of me saying this, but there's just so many wonderful new channels coming out. It seems like every day. It's hard to keep up with everybody, but just wonderful There's something for everybody out there.
no
Um,
doubt.
like for you, you were pretty much into the modern knives.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but you're kind of in. But you're starting to um, warm up to some of the more traditional slip joint knives and gaining an appreciation. I'm quite the opposite. You know, my interest was always in the vintage knives and buck knives and that, but I've been handling some of the newer modern knives, and so I occasionally do some of those reviews on Knife Delights. Although I got to tell you, I feel out of my league when every time I try to review a modern knife. But
Yeah.
so yeah, but with this knife community just expanding, there's something for everybody out here.
And there's so many great people in the knife community. I mean, I have never in my life come across a community of people from all different walks of life that are so supportive of one another, so generous of towards one another. It's just awesome. And like I say, I've only been doing knife content for maybe 4 months, and
Hmm.
the support has been amazing, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I've made a lot of friends already. Um, and yeah, there's something out there for everybody. Fixed blades, modern knives, modern slip joints, vintage slip joints, whatever you want, it's out there for sure.
well, to anyone that might be watching, that's maybe thinking about starting a YouTube channel, a knife review channel, or talking about knives or EDC or whatever they want there, knife related content, what advice would you give them?
Oh, reach out and connect with people. Just don't be afraid to, first of all, don't be afraid to show yourself on camera. I know that a lot of guys are not comfortable with that, and
Hmm.
so it's sort of a top down, hands only, looking at the table. I On my channel, I do a little bit of that top down
Hmm.
view of
Hmm.
just the knife, and I do a little bit of view of me. But I was in a classroom for 20 years, so I'm used to talking to myself with nobody listening. That's not
Yep.
unusual.
Yep.
Um, but I would say, first of all, don't be afraid to show your face, let people get to know who you are,
Hmm.
right? Mix a little bit of you in there with the knife talk, um, and reach out to others like you, RJ, Big J, Thrifty, Slip Joint Sawyer. Just get connected.
Yeah. I got to agree. Showing my face was a little daunting at
Yeah,
first. My mother always gave me a great compliment saying I've got the perfect face for radio.
it's for radio.
So yeah, but no, and I've kind of come up with a few tips of my own. One is if you just do it, you just
Yep.
get started. I look back at my beginning videos and I'm like, ooh, but that's how you learn. Get on there.
Yep.
People are always willing to help you out. There's
Yep.
so much help and support in the community.
Hmm.
People recognize you're just getting going. They'll encourage you to keep you going. Um, put your email when you create your YouTube page. There's a place to put contact information. Please be sure and put your email or a way to contact you. I know I've tried to reach out to channels and they don't have any email address and no contact info. And so, through Instagram or, I eventually made contact with them, but it's so much easier because channels might want to reach out to you and have that, or even viewers and supporters, you
Right. Right.
know, um, just, give everyone a way to contact you. And my last big one, and I think this has really helped all of these open tags that are out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You participate in an open tag and then you recognize the channel that started the open tag, put their channel name in the video title or down in the description. Then it shows up into their feed and then they'll recognize you. And it's just a wonderful way to get started and get to meet people.
And
The other
that's
thing is there's several traveling knives out there.
yeah.
Um, if you see somebody and they invite you to participate in a traveling knife, jump on board with that. And that's just simply a knife that someone's donated, and we send it from channel to channel for each one to do their own unique review. And so participate in those, and that's a great way to get to know people.
Yeah. And I would add to that, on those open tags, don't feel like you have to know that person that
No,
created that open tag to jump in on that. I think that's how I initially got connected with this group of guys, you and
yeah,
Big J and all the other guys, was I just
yeah.
jumped in on an open tag, you
Well,
know.
I remember you left, if I remember right, you left a comment on one of my videos, and it wasn't short after that, and you did a 2 for Tuesday, I think, open tag.
Yeah, yeah, I did a
And
two
I'm
for
like, oh, okay,
yeah.
because
I did
and
a
that's
two for
kind of
Tuesday. I did a thankful Thursday,
yep,
and
yep,
that just opens up conversations with people. And a couple of other things I would add that I just thought about. Don't think you have to have all this fancy equipment. To this
mm,
day, I still do everything on my phone.
me too.
Um,
Yep,
and you know, certainly if your channel blows up and gets huge and you're earning some significant income and can afford to do that, by all means do it if you want to, but don't think that you have to. Don't think your first few videos have to be perfect, because they
no,
don't.
no,
um, and you'll get better at it. And what was the other thing I forgot? Hmm, yeah,
yeah. I
that's
used to always say, just be yourself and have fun.
yeah,
You know,
that's it. That reminded me. Don't feel pressured to have to post on a certain schedule. If some other channel is putting out content every single day, don't feel like you have to keep up
right,
with that, because that's a
right.
good way to burn out quickly.
Yep,
You know, everybody has a life. Just post when you can post or want to post, and your channel will grow. You
yep.
know,
It will.
yeah.
It certainly will. Yeah, it can be again daunting to get started. You think, I look back and I had this happened to be perfect, and well, you know what? I stutter every now and then. I scramble up my words or say the wrong word or whatever, and I've just gotten to the point I laugh at myself in the video and say, "Gosh, Tom, start talking this morning." Just have fun with it.
I do. It's funny you mentioned that, because I do that in almost every. I don't script anything. I just start talking, um, but I stumble over my words in
Yeah.
almost every single video. And instead of edit it out and spend all that additional time editing, I just make it part of my shtick, part of
Yep.
my routine. It's like I know I'm going to stumble through my words at some point, and so I just roll with it and kind of make a blooper in the middle of a video and
There
keep
you
going
go.
and keep
Yeah.
going.
Keep
So,
going. That's
yeah,
right. So, um, this is a kind of a knife related channel. You wouldn't happen to have a knife or two you might want to talk about, would you?
as a matter of fact, I got a new knife on Thursday.
Oh, let me bring it up on big screen here.
I got
All
this on
right.
Thursday. I posted a video of this yesterday, Friday. This is from an American maker in Georgia called Very Good Knife Company. It's kind of a Nessmuck style. It's about almost 8 inches in total length. It's made in the USA in Georgia, completely handmade. This was only about $100 or something like that. It comes with the Kydex sheath. I first saw this, not this knife, but this company on Georgia Adventurers channel.
Okay.
So he works for the Power Company in Georgia, and a couple of the guys that he works with and works for were looking for lineman knives, the guys that work on the power lines. And a lineman knife is essentially a hawk bill that's
Right.
similar to
Yep.
that, used for splicing and splicing large wire. So those guys were looking for a special purpose lineman knife, and they found this small company in Georgia that made lineman knives, but he also makes other fixed blade everyday carry knives. So Randy from Georgia Adventure got one. I saw his video and I absolutely love that knife. So I went on there and got this one, and it is fantastic. Carbon steel, natural micarta, full tang, handmade, hollow ground, satin finish. Now
What's the name of the company once again?
it's called Very Good Knife Company.
Very Good Knife Company. All
Yeah.
right.
So um, there it is.
Oh, that's good. Thank you. Yep.
So he's just a one-man operation. He's got a little shop set up, I guess, at his house or at his shop, and he makes all of these by hand. He's got about 14 different models. Previously, they were all carbon steel, but now he has released most of his models in stainless.
Okay.
So, and
That
I just feel,
looked like really thick blade stock.
oh, that blade stock is thick,
Full tang, yeah.
full tang, big, thick blade stock, but it comes down super thin behind the edge.
Sure.
So,
So is
and
that
it's
that hollow ground?
hollow ground. Yep.
Yeah.
So this is a worker for sure, and it's a lifetime warranty. This guy, his name is Jacob. Um, he backs up his products,
Yep.
and he's an American. It's an American company in Georgia, and I own some Chinese knives, and I don't have any problem buying Chinese knives, but when you can get this quality for $100
Sure.
from an American maker, I'm all for supporting people like this.
Yep.
So that's the newest knife in my collection.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a
Now,
good.
recently I had the fortunate opportunity. My friend Kevin and I drove up and met Ray at North Star Knife Reviews,
I
and
saw
we were
that.
able to attend a custom knife show. And I tell you what, I was absolutely
Mhm.
blown away at some of those knives and just the sheer craftsmanship. And I'm looking forward. I think they got another event in March, but I intend on following that group and going to their shows more often. I know Ray is too. Um, so, folks, if you have a chance to go to a custom knife show that gets advertised, go to it. I mean, I wasn't, I didn't have a budget prepared to attend
Right.
because, yeah, they are a lot more expensive. However, I look at the material and the craftsmanship that are in those things, and for what you're getting, it really is not. I mean, you're getting good value there, but
Yeah.
you just be prepared because, I think one of the cheaper knives was 150, but most of them were at least 2 to 300 and up to six or
300.
700. But again, with the materials they're using, it's just like, wow.
And those are handmade, and
They're
you
handmade, each one of them unique.
and you're yeah, every one of them is a one of a kind, and you have the opportunity to sit there and talk to the guy that made it.
Right.
So, yeah, I saw you guys posted a series of um, videos talking to several of the makers that were
Right.
there, and that was pretty cool. And what really took me and left an impression on me, there was one guy. He was a younger guy. I can't remember the name of his company, but I think he said he had only been doing it for like 10 months or
Yeah.
eight, and his work was phenomenal.
Yeah, I think that's one of the first ones we did.
Yeah.
He was the one that's a mechanical engineer. I think that's
Yes.
the one you're
Yes.
talking about.
Yep.
Yeah, and
That's
he loves kitchen knives, and he started making kitchen knives, and now he's expanding out. And you're absolutely right. Phenomenal work, just
yeah. Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
And
Definitely gifted.
another one that struck me was there was a young man and his wife sitting there, and they were there as a team, and he was young, and you could just see the enthusiasm is in him as he talked about his knives, and well, every one of them had a passion for knives. They
Yeah.
just all did. I couldn't pick a favorite knife, I guess, because they all had their special, unique qualities to them, and as well as the makers.
Yeah. 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 That's great. I feel like we have to do everything that we can do to support guys like that. You know.
Well, and that's why, and it was really nice because again, my friend Kevin that helps me out with History Delights,
Mm,
my sister channel.
hmm
He came along with me. I says, "Do you mind being cameraman for both of us here today?" And he says, "No, no problem." So Ray and I kind of did every other table. So Ray would do an interview with a knife maker, and of course that video went up on North Star Knife Reviews. And then I'd kind of do the next table, and I still don't think we hit all the tables. Um,
Yeah. Wow.
we're going to have take more time next time to be able.
Now.
And it's kind of hard. when they don't know you and you just walk up
Yeah.
to them cold and say, "Hey, I got a YouTube channel. Would you mind if I interview or something?"
Yeah.
And some of them are kind of like, what's YouTube? Almost,
Right. Right.
But if if we keep going and we get a build some sort of a rapport and relationship with these knife makers, I think the videos will get even better over time because once you break that ice and they started warming up to it, it was just a blast to talk to them.
Yeah, that's very cool. And then who knows? Maybe you could have them as a guest on one of these Saturday chats.
I've already thought of that. Yeah,
Yeah.
reaching
Yeah.
out to them. So
Now, where was that show? Was that
that
in
was in
Minnesota?
Minneapolis.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
it was the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul. So it was a Twin Cities knife show,
okay.
and it was put on by I can't remember the actual name of their organization. But anyway, it's basically custom knife makers from Minnesota, is what it is.
And did you drive over there? How long of a
Yeah,
drive is that?
it's 3.5, 4 hour drive.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah, it was easy going up. It was daylight, but if you watch my video on the way home, Kevin got me lost like 3 times. I didn't think I was ever going to get home.
Yeah. Um, some of the guys, Terry from Terry's Knives and Man Stuff, and Mike Curtis and Georgia Adventure, maybe a couple other ones are going to that case event in
Yeah,
Powder Springs here. I think it's next week, maybe.
yeah, yeah.
I would love to go to that, but I just can't. My calendar is booked up. So,
And I don't know what it is, but down south, you guys seem to have a lot more knife shows and a lot more knife stores, and boy, I'm jealous. I think the closest probably case knife event that I would be able to attend would be down in Branson, Missouri, and that's about an 8 hour drive.
oh,
Now, to go to Branson, I'll drive the 8 hours. I love southern Missouri, northern
yeah.
Arkansas, the Ozarks area. I just love it down there. So, and there's that Shepherd Hills, I think, puts on an annual show, and so one of these days, I'm hoping to go down and attend that. And I'm sure Mike Curtis will be there. Mike loves his
Oh, I
case
know.
knives.
I've
What a
got some.
man! What a man! I enjoy his channel too, and all of his beautiful knives. Yep, there it is.
I got a sticker from him today, and I ordered some stickers a couple days ago. They should be here next week. So if any of you guys want to do a sticker swap,
Well, I need to
shoot.
get one in the mail to you. Yep,
Okay, yeah,
absolutely.
mine are coming. Mine are on the way. So I
Yep.
got Mike's sticker just the other day, but his case collection is unbelievable, unbelievable. I
Well,
think
yeah, he's been collecting for like 40 years.
I think he has all of them, all of them.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
yeah. Sometimes I sit and think, boy, I got a lot of knives, and then I look at some of these other guys, and I'm just like,
yeah,
no, I have a starter kit.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I, I, I
Jersey
feel the
knife
same way.
guy. Jersey knife guy is another one.
Oh,
I mean,
his
I just think we're seeing a small portion of what that man has. And
his and Warthog. His
oh yeah,
man, some of these guys' collections are just phenomenal. You know, and sometimes I'm the same way. I think, man, I've got a lot of knives, and no, not even
no,
close.
no, I
No,
really don't.
I have like a starter kit, like you said.
I think I started in 2017 or 18. That's when the kind of the knife bug bit me.
Yeah,
And I had been watching Knife Chats with Tobias. I don't know if you're
yeah.
familiar with Tobias. Oh yeah,
Oh
I
yeah,
think
he's
probably
the
everyone here knows him, and it was through one of his open tags. Um, I think it was, do you collect knives just for collecting, or knives that you collect just for collecting? In other words, you don't ever intend on using the knives,
I have a lot
but
of
you're
those.
building a certain collection of knives you'll never use.
Mhm.
And I remember one night I like, you know what? I think I can do that. I think I could do that. So
Yep.
I did a quick video and put it up, and Tobias actually responded to it, and
Mhm.
that was it. And I waited about another 6 months. I'm like, well, I did it before. Let's just try it. So then I came up with a channel name and all this and that, and the rest, as they say, is history. But yeah, some of these guys, their knowledge, their collections, it's just mind-boggling.
Are you still? Can you? I can't see you on the screen.
You
I don't
cannot.
know. No, I don't know if that's my end or your end. Do you still have me on big screen?
No. Oh wait, yes I do. I'm sorry.
That's
Let
okay.
me put you
I
back
thought
down.
maybe
Exit solo layout.
people
How's
might get
that?
tired of staring at my ugly mug. They might want to see the host. The
Oh
host.
no. Oh no.
Um,
Before I forget,
yeah.
RJ's Knives put out an open tag on show us your orange knives. And here you go, RJ.
There you
My
go.
buck 112. Slim. Yeah.
Very nice.
I trying to think. I don't think I have many orange
I
covered
don't.
knives.
I think the only orange knives I have are a couple Rosecraft blades, but they're not. They're orange-ish, but
Yeah.
it's kind of that honey bourbon.
Yep.
Not really orange. Now I've got quite a few purple knives, but orange is not that I dislike orange. I just don't have any orange knives in my collection.
What do you? I don't know if you know of Byron. He's a great supporter of all the channels and leaves a lot of
Yeah.
comments. But
Yes,
Byron
absolutely.
in RJ's live last Sunday, he says he hates purple and violet and things like that. So you know me, I had to start whipping out my knives with purple covers on them
Oh
just
yeah,
for Byron.
yeah. I like purple. There's my purple.
Oh, I'll bring you
Purple.
back up here.
Okay. I've
Go
got
ahead.
a lot of purple knives. I'm kind of a sucker for purple. That's the Case purple barn board Barlow there.
Nice.
That's just I want to get that purple barn board copper lock
Sure.
Warncliffe. That's a good one. But
So
yeah, I've got a lot of purple. I've got a
now
lot.
that I've teased you, Byron, excuse me. Let me know what your favorite color of knife covers or handles are, and I'll try to put a video together just for you, just for picking on you a little bit here.
Yeah, maybe he'll say black.
Maybe that would be nice, wouldn't it? I
I
could
got a bunch.
fulfill that one.
I got a bunch of those. I got a
Yeah.
bunch of those. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of a sucker for purple. I've got plenty of purple knives, purple paracord.
Right.
I don't know. I just like purple. Um, but orange, I don't dislike orange. I just don't have any in my collection.
Yeah.
Now, Randy, Georgia Adventurer, responded to that orange tag the other day. And
Yeah.
man, he had about 15 beautiful case knives that were all autumn harvest and persimmon and beautiful. You
Yep.
know,
TK. I just watched one from TK in his
yeah,
response.
he had some
There
good
was
ones
another
too.
one, just
Yeah,
beautiful knives.
yeah.
Goodness gracious. Yeah.
So you started on YouTube by watching Tobias. Is that essentially it? And then you
Pretty
thought,
much.
I
Yeah.
can do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Tobias is great, and he responds or tries to respond to almost every comment. I enjoy watching him. I've been watching his channel for a while.
I always call him the professor because whenever I have a question or something
Yeah,
and I'm doing a video,
he's
I know if I'm not given the right info, Tobias will jump in there and set me straight, and I certainly appreciate it.
he'll correct it.
Yeah, he will
I see him going.
in a very nice way. I mean, he's just so helpful, you know.
He is an encyclopedia of knife knowledge.
Yep.
And he goes on there and he'll correct Smoky Mountain Knife Works as well
Yeah.
about their own products.
Right.
And I believe Tobias knows more than those guys know.
Yep.
To be honest.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
So I kind of alluded to it at the beginning of the chat here that you were kind of a modern knife guy, but you're starting to warm up to traditionals. Do you want to talk a little bit about what's piqued your interest in the traditionals?
So I've always had knives. I've only been collecting to collect for a few years, but I've always had slip joint knives and traditional knives and modern knives. When I started collecting, um, that's when I started acquiring a lot of modern knives. It's not that I ever stopped having slip joint or traditional knives or never liked them. It's just kind of I fell into that rabbit hole of modern knives. And I thought if you're going to be on YouTube and do a knife channel, that's what you have to do. Um, but it's one of those things where when you have so many modern tactical
Mhm.
knives, whatever you want to call them, after a while, they all begin to look exactly the same. They are all just a variation on a theme. Um, and they just don't have, they don't have the same soul. In my
Right.
opinion, they lack soul or character, if you will. Now, I love slip joints. I'm just now starting to get interested and collect vintage knives. I've,
Mhm.
I've got a couple, but I don't have a vintage collection. I've got quite a few slip joints and traditional knives, but they're not vintage. So the whole vintage thing is really new for me.
One
But
thing
as
about the vintage knives is if you have antique stores, pawn shops, secondhand stores in your area, man, you can go up and find some great vintage knives for $4 or $5.
yeah,
Now,
yeah,
a lot of times I'll buy the old rusty ones because I like to
mhm.
restore them,
Yeah,
and
I
it's a
saw you.
challenge to restore them. So you spend a few dollars, just a few dollars, and then you have the fun of getting them restored, and you get to learn about the history.
Mhm.
I like to collect those with Tang stamps that I'm not familiar with. There are so many like old slip joint knife companies that are no longer in business that nobody really has ever heard about.
Right,
And so to discover a new company or
right.
Tang stamp, it's just phenomenal.
And that's to me, that's far more exciting when you discover a new pattern,
Yep,
maybe, or an
yep,
unusual pattern that's not so popular, or a tang stamp of a company you've never heard of before, or even a shield from
yep,
an old case knife that maybe you don't see very often anymore. Then, the next Civivi knife, which is exactly the same as the last Civivi knife,
yeah, yeah.
that just grows tiresome really quick. Now, I still love modern knives and I'm selling a lot of them. So if anybody's in the market, go check my videos. Um,
Absolutely.
I'm selling a lot of them, but there's, 15 or maybe 20 that I'm going to keep that I really
Okay,
love. But then I've got 80 that are all almost exactly the same, you know?
sure.
So,
Well, I have some modern knives. Some I have purchased. Some have been given to me. Um, b- Mostly my modern knives, the ones I bought them for a specific purpose
right,
because they're more. I hate to use this word, but tactical related, if you
right,
will.
right.
But those are knives that I would carry because of my previous profession. I never used them. I kept them sharp right out as they come sharp out of the box. They were pretty much a one purpose only knife. I had
Mhm.
other knives to do my cutting with, and I left them alone because if an emergency situation, if I actually had to use that thing, I want it to be kept up. And the problem is you start to use a knife and like, well, yeah, I'll get it sharpened back up again, and then next thing you know, you don't, and then you need it,
Yeah,
and you need a
yeah.
sharp knife for certain reasons, and then it's not sharp, and so yeah,
Almost all of the knives that I have never been used.
right,
Never. Like,
mine too, yeah,
and I mean, never cut a sheet of paper, even.
yeah,
I have my dedicated knives that I use. Some of them are cheap, what you would call a beater knife, and some of them are more expensive. But you have 6 or 8 knives, or I have 6 or 8 knives that I use
hmm,
regularly. Um, and then the rest of them are just for collecting. It's
yeah,
not that I have any problem using the ones that I have. It's just that most of the time when I know that I'm going to use a knife, it's one of those 6 or 8 knives that I pick up
Yeah.
to use,
Yep. Absolutely.
you know?
Yeah.
So,
I'm a collector.
yeah. So
I
my,
mean, I
yeah,
I don't use a
me
knife
too.
that much. Be honest. Just your normal every EDC task. Now, there are times I go camping or fishing, and I got some knives set
Right.
aside just for. But even then, I don't use them. That I have them with me, but I don't really use them a lot.
Right.
Um, but I'm like you. I have certain knives I have set aside that I've used. I'll keep using. There's no reason to on a collectible knife um, do something with the edge on it or something like that. I
Right.
want to keep them factory because I'm always thinking 50 years or 100 years ahead. I mean,
Yeah.
how exciting is it to find a knife on eBay that's 80 years old that's basically,
Perfect.
yeah, perfect, old stock,
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
used. Well,
Yeah.
think
That's
about,
perfect.
the things we're getting now 100 years from now if they're kept basically in new condition. How excited is some knife enthusiast 100 years from now going to be?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And you know what? I think there's a very select group of people that use their knives regularly for more than just around the house everyday use. Those people are out there, but my opinion is, regardless of what most people say that are knife enthusiasts or collectors, our knives generally get the same amount of use. For
Yeah.
to open a package, open a box, cut some string, or if mama needs something cut, you cut it for her.
Yep.
But and you've got those guys that work, um, that are tradesmen or whatever, that use knives more than the rest of us, but I feel like they probably have dedicated work knives
Right.
and then different knives that they put in their pocket at other times.
Are you familiar with the Kirby Creek outfit?
Yep. Uh-huh. I'm
Okay,
subscribed to that channel.
great. Um, there's a perfect example, an example I use often. KCO is out there and he loves the Buck 110 for one thing.
Mhm.
He's
Mhm.
always out there, carving and bushcrafting, and
Yeah.
his knife skills are amazing, just amazing. And I love to watch his videos, and he's always got good quality videos. But there's a man that loves one particular pattern. He
Mhm.
uses them for more than just cutting tape or opening a
Right.
box, like you said. So yeah, there's a perfect example of someone that really uses his knives.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
Uh,
no, they are meant to be used.
they are they are meant to be used. But
Yeah,
I think that there's a lot more collectors now
yeah,
than there used to be,
right.
you know? And I'm not sure why that is, but there's a lot of knife collectors that, do the same thing we do.
Yeah. Well, I think, for people my age, it just kind of harkens us back to a simpler time. It
Oh, that's a
harkens
fact.
us back to our childhood. It harkens us back to, my dad, all he ever carried was a simple little cheap slip joint knife.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
can still see him, reaching into the pocket, getting it out, cutting what he needed to cut. And same with my grandpa's. And so to me, it's a lot of nostalgia there.
It is. And I think that, slip joint and traditional knives have gotten way more popular recently in just the
Mhm.
last few years. And I think a lot of it, and this is true for me too, a lot of it is for that exact reason. We live in a fast paced world where everything's going a million miles an hour, but,
Yeah,
something so deliberate and intentional,
yeah,
just harkens back to a simpler time, and it reminds us of dad or grandpa or life before the internet or kids
yeah.
playing outside, which you hardly ever see anymore. It just,
It's
so the faster our world goes, the more people want to cling to simpler times. And that's what
yeah.
these knives are.
Yeah, they take well, this is the 112, a modern version of it.
Mm-hmm.
I still find myself pulling it out of my pocket and
Mm-hmm.
doing this and not using the thumb studs.
And
If it's a
that's
flipper knife, I'm going to grab it and I'm going to open it up two hands. It's just habit.
and that's one of the. It might be weird to say, but that's one of my favorite things about traditional knives is that it's not, yeah,
Yeah,
I can do that all day and not even think about it. But as soon as I pick up a slip joint, I have to focus and think about what I'm doing, and I
yep,
just love that. Just
yeah.
the act of opening and closing it is satisfying.
And if you're carrying, some will say, well, why do I need a Stockman? Why do I need three blades on a knife?
Mm,
Well, that gets back to what you just said. I'll get my Stockman out and I pull this blade out. Is this the right blade for this? Well, this one's a little dull. Let me check this blade.
right,
You know what? This might work better. And
right.
yeah, it's a deliberate act.
And that's the other thing, and you just sort of touched on it, is these traditional patterns are purpose built,
Yeah,
where each different blade shape is designed for a specific task, whereas modern knives are just kind of all purpose.
right.
The general drop point blade shape is a multi-purpose blade shape that you could pretty much adapt to use for anything.
Hmm.
But with a traditional knife, you've got your clip point, your spade blade, your pen blade, your Wharncliffe, your sheep's foot, that are all good at different tasks.
Yep.
And that's another thing that's appealing to me.
Yeah. Do you now? You obviously like your fixed blades. Do you have
Oh,
any of the more traditional style fixed blades, or is that something you're looking to get into, or are you
I,
looking mostly for pocket folders?
I've got some other fixed blades over here in a box. I've got a few Mora knives, which are
Hmm.
just good users. I use them
Oh
around
yeah,
the house to cut stuff in the kitchen, everything. They're just good all purpose fixed blades. And I just went and got a whole bunch of old hickory knives because, as you know, they
yeah,
are no
absolutely.
longer,
Yep.
which is it's a shame. I hate to see that happen.
What
So
what good value knives? They were
I
good
mean,
value knives.
amazing. So I went out and bought as many as I could.
Hmm.
Um, you know, and then I've got my first fixed blade that I had was this old K-Bar USMC.
Oh, let me
With a,
get you up here on full screen here.
yeah, so I talked about this on uh,
Awesome.
Big J and Boston's. Now
Yeah.
it's much darker
Yep.
than it, it normally would be. This was given to me by a buddy of mine that was in the Marine Corps, and the guard is all loose
Right.
because when he gave it to me, the leather stacks were all dehydrated. The
Yep.
black PVD coating was coming off of it. So I had to soak it in oil to try to get these to expand and tighten up the guard there. I mean, I could take it off, but I don't really have the skill to, redo it.
Yeah.
So I just stripped off the coating, soaked it in oil, and soaked this in oil to try to put a little life back into it. This knife went with him to Iraq
Uh-huh.
for Desert Storm in the early 90s.
Awesome.
And he gave it to me. It's one of my most cherished knives. Lots of sentimental value. That's my dearest friend in the world.
Oh,
So,
I love knives with a story behind them.
yeah. So, yeah, when I was on Big J in Boston's live stream, um, somebody in the comments said, "You want to sell that thing?" I was like, "No,
No,
man, that's
no,
not for sale.
no. That's one of them
I'm
you'll
selling
never
some of my
sell.
modern knives.
Yeah.
I'll
I
never
just
sell this one, and I'll never sell this one. This was my. This is a 40 to 64 um, Case Hunter.
wow.
That was my stepdad's knife.
Awesome.
and it's in great condition. He took really good care of it. I think that this one is from the late 50s, maybe. And he had this his whole life from the time, he got out of high school. But this one has a ton of stories too. I mean, um,
Sure.
he was a peanut farmer and a cotton farmer, and owned a general store out in the country in a small community. And this knife was on his hip through all those years.
Yep.
And then when he passed away a few years ago, my mom gave it to me. So those two are my most cherished knives,
Yep.
that will
I can believe it.
be with me always.
Yeah, I just did a video on it's basically a replica, but the K-Bar USN Mark One
Yeah, I saw that.
USN knife. And one of these days, I would like to get an actual Mark One from the World War II era, whether it's from K-Bar or PAL or Camillus.
Yeah, that would be
Um,
awesome. I would love to have
there were
one of those too.
several companies that had government contracts to produce those. So
Mhm.
yeah, but yeah, one of these. It's always another knife on the list, right?
Right. Yeah, there's always, it's just there's so many that I want. Another thing that I really, really want to start collecting more of and build a collection of is Sheffield knives. This is my only Sheffield knife. This is a Taylor's Eyewitness peach pruner. Um, but there's just so many, and this is just one of their entry level knives. I think this was like $40. It's not the best. The fit and finish is not perfect. It's crude in a way, but I love it still. And
Yeah,
the reason is, I mean, Taylor's Eyewitness has been around forever.
sure.
And there is such a rich history of cutlery in Sheffield, England. I
Yep.
mean, that's how cutlery in the United States started, was those guys
Yeah.
came over here and started cutlery companies.
Yeah,
So
they
I
kind
really
of
want to
started
build
out.
my Sheffield collection.
I read a really neat history on like Cayuga County and that in the New York area where all the Sheffield knife makers came, and there's about 100-mile circle there.
Mm-hmm.
You got all the Case brothers got involved, and so many knife makers got their start right there, and
Yeah, in that whole
they
area, Pennsylvania, New
yeah
York. Yeah.
they'd form a company, and they'd get these guys, and they'd learn their craft, and then they'd say, well, I'm going to go start my own company. And so they'd break
Mm-hmm.
off, start up their own company, and recruit
And
workers from this company to theirs. And yeah, it must have been a fun time to be alive and having all of those choices available.
and so all of those early American companies are intertwined and interconnected in such a way, but for that exact reason.
Yeah,
Some guys would start one company and then they sell it or whatever and start another company, and
yeah,
it's very cool. It's kind of difficult to find good historical information, but it's fun trying
yeah,
to find it and sort it all out.
yeah. When I do one of my videos and I try to give history on the knife of the company, I always tell everyone, do your own research,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
just about the time you think you have it down, and you have it all right, and more than make the video, and then all of a sudden you stumble across another article that contradicts what you just put out.
and
So I
then you
always
learn
try
that
to
you
tell
were.
everyone, and it's that way with history. I'm a history
Yeah,
buff too, and that's just the way history is.
yeah,
People will argue over events that happened 200 years ago. You know, you get one historian saying, no, 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 it happened this way, and another
right.
historian, no, no, no. So, but that's what makes it fun. But yeah, everyone do your own history or your own research.
It's really fun. It is fun to try to learn that stuff. And yeah, I'm a scientist by trade
Mhm.
originally, and then
Right.
I was a science teacher, and I'm a lifelong learner and educator at heart. And so I love that stuff.
Mhm.
I enjoy the research.
Yeah.
Not everybody does, but I
Yeah.
enjoy it for sure.
Yeah. I
And
get
I
this
love
so
history too. Speaking
I
of
get so
history,
disappointed sometimes. I'll find a really neat knife and then I can't
yeah,
find any information on it
yeah,
whatsoever. And you're just
yeah,
like, ah, you
yeah.
know.
So
But
you are, well, are you into the Civil War stuff? Is
oh
that
yeah,
your primary
yeah,
historical interest?
yes. I love all history, but that's the primary. Um, and that's
Okay,
kind of why I started History Delights, because again, my friend Kevin
okay,
and I, we both, belong to the same organization, and we go out and
right,
do reenactments and try
yeah,
to educate the public on the Civil War. And so History Delights originally was we wanted a place to put our videos that we were doing on the Civil War and stuff. So,
yeah. It's
but
very
we
cool.
do there's a whole bunch of other stuff on there,
Yeah,
mostly local history, but it still pertains to everybody. Everybody has their own fascinating local history stories that
oh yeah,
it's fun to discover. It's just fun to discover some of the things that went on in your own area. 100 years ago, 150 years ago, you'd be amazed when you get to really looking and reading
yeah,
the fantastic things.
yeah.
What's that old expression? There is no new news. Just there is no new news. Just oh, I just messed it up. Oh, there is nothing such as new news. It's just old news happening to new people.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Mark Twain says, history doesn't repeat itself, but it sure does rhyme.
Yep. That's right. Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. So,
yeah,
yeah,
very cool.
it kind of goes hand in hand with doing the research on these old vintage knives and stuff because the research is fun for me.
Yeah, yeah. I recently picked up a copy of the Levine's Levin's Guide.
Yeah, and
But
I don't have one of those yet.
they're you have to pay for them
Oh yeah,
because yeah, I think I paid $50 or $60. I got the third edition. They made 5 editions. I got the third edition. It's in rough shape. I mean,
yep,
it's still readable, but it's certainly not new by any stretch. But yeah, if you can swing that at some
yeah,
time, Tom, you should pick one up. It is just,
yeah,
there's a lot of awesome information in there. It talks about the history of different patterns,
right, yep.
which is cool. It's one of the most comprehensive sources. It doesn't go into super great detail about anything in particular, but it covers everything.
Covers a lot. I
Yeah.
did come across the book again in an antique store, and it cost me $5, and it is a pretty comprehensive book on Remington knives.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they've got pictures of just about every knife they ever made. Every pattern and stuff.
Yeah, that's
Very
awesome.
good history on Remington. Of course, Remington UMC used to have their own plant and made their own knives.
Mm,
And then in either 40 or 41, they sold out. Well, DuPont bought them out
really?
in the 30s. So they were under DuPont, but then DuPont sold out lock, stock, and barrel, the factory, the name, and everything to PAL Knives. So the Remingtons
Okay.
you buy today, basically anything after 1940, you're buying the name because they licensed the name out to somebody. But Remington
Right.
used to have their own knife factory.
I did not know that DuPont owned them for a period. Now, did they continue to manufacture knives
Yeah,
under DuPont
yes,
ownership?
yeah.
Hmm,
But
that's
the
cool. I
tang
didn't.
stamps all said Remington UMC on them.
Now, I know GEC, Great Eastern Cutlery, has released some Remington knives
Yep.
recently.
Again, they're under license to be able to do
License.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's another, I don't have any of those. And that is something, vintage knives. I would love to. Not every vintage knife interests me. I know that a lot of guys are into old timers and
Hmm.
Schrade, and it's just, but those Remington knives and the old case knives and, some of the old marbles and Queen,
Yep.
I really like that stuff.
Yep.
Um, and then of course Sheffield knives.
Sure.
So, but every time you think you're gonna pick something up, another knife comes up that you have to have, and that's how it goes.
Yeah. Well, Tim, I always hate to do this, but you know, we're coming up on an hour here, and we tried not to go over an hour, but it always seems like we're just really getting started. But maybe we can have you on again. It's been a
Absolutely.
joy and a pleasure and an honor to have you to meet and talk to you some more and get to know you better. What just to kind of wrap things up, what are some of the things we could look for on your channel or expect to see on your channel? Do you have any plans or?
I've got another one of my popular recent videos was this. You don't have to put me on the big screen, but I did a shipwreck patina
I
on
did see that. Yeah.
on this copper knife, just an inexpensive Rough Rider. I bought another one of those, and I'm going to do a flame painted one where I'm just using a handheld torch to flame paint it.
Wow.
And so I'm trying to teach myself. I've figured out how to bring out those nice purple and blue colors, but now I have to figure out how to bring out those colors in a pattern that I want on a knife.
Right.
So I'm going to continue to do some modification stuff, some mods on some knives. And the focus of the channel is really going to be on slip joint knives, modern slip joint knives, fixed blade knives, vintage knives when I can get my hands on them. And that's really the direction the channel is going. From
Okay.
time to time, there will still be some modern knives because I still do love some of them, but it's not going to be all modern knives all the time.
Sure. Sure. Well, folks, I'm going to wrap this up here, I
So,
guess. Again, I want to thank Tim. If you haven't checked out Tim's School of Fish, you need to go and subscribe today. We both mentioned a lot of great channels also during the course of this little chat. Check all of those channels out. Give them a subscribe. It doesn't cost a thing, just takes a second of your time. And we do appreciate, on behalf of Tim, thank you for joining us here on this Saturday chat. And Tim, I'm going to give you the last word, and why don't you wrap it up here for us?
Tom, the honor and the pleasure is absolutely all mine, 100%. I appreciate you asking me on to this Saturday chat, and I'd be happy to do this anytime. And all of you guys have been tremendously supportive and gracious, and I appreciate it very much. And I love all you guys' channels, and I'm just looking forward to continue to develop these relationships and be a part of this community for a long time together.
Sounds great. Let's wrap this up together with have a delightful day.
All
Are you
right.
ready?
Yep.
All right, everyone. Tim and I wish you a very delightful day.
Good day.
There you go. Okay. We'll talk to you later, Tim.
Thank you, Tom.